Hey everybody, welcome back to Slightly A Ways North, and we have a very special guest today. And as I always say, our next guest needs no introduction, so we won't. Will you please welcome the co-founder of Nelvana and all around basically the probably the guy or one of three guys that essentially created the Canadian animation industry. Will you please welcome Clive Smith? Clive, thank you so much for doing this. I am so thrilled.
Thank you, Corey. It's nice to be here. Going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. And I think we've all been having, the one thing I didn't tell you is, so I don't know, it seems to be a morning of technical glitches because, or afternoon, because about 15 minutes before I was connecting, my Stream Deck decided that it wanted to be a dickhead, so I'm using a mouse to go from scene to scene, like a ghetto switcher. So, Clive, tell me what you're doing these days. You got must have cost a fortune, and then we'll go backwards.
Okay. Well, Muster is a company that I actually started way back, even when I was still part of Nelvana, and it was just to sort of siphon off some side projects, and it was also something that our accountants recommended that we all had our own private companies. So Muster, whatever I do now, I do it through Muster Cost a Fortune. I did a comic book in 24 called The Rather Unusual Adventures of Ice Cream Girl and Mr. Licorice. So that's still out there to be purchased. Here it is. This is the book. Ta-da!
It's beautiful.
And it's it was, well, it's a book, and it actually started off as a film script. So that was, and I guess it's still the idea, is to do it as a film, as a live action animation film. It's about a young man who has a very, very serious condition that causes him to see the world as a cartoon. And his story arc is, of course, to figure out what's going on with his head, why is he seeing these things, and also to find out who his father was, who he never knew. And he does, in fact, learn, I think, towards the end of Act 2, he learns that his father, in fact, was a cartoon character. So he has a cartoon gene. And the cartooniverse is sort of fighting with the real world to drag him into the cartoon world. That's the basis of the story.
That's really cool.
I think it is too. I think it's damn cool. I think it's really cool. And I can't wait to make it as a movie. But the comic book turned out quite well. I'm not 100% happy with it. I'm not happy with anything I do, to tell you the truth. But
join the club.
Yeah, it's okay. So what am I doing now? One of the things I've just started, and this is because so many people, especially my wonderful wife, Melanie Melody, who is a music producer and a performer, she's been on to me for about a year to write an autobiography. And it's funny because that's sort of all that's in the past, and I really like to think of going forward. I want to think of new things, not the old stuff. But I actually started about a day ago, to tell you the truth, and I actually started to throw some ideas down. And here's what happens: you don't think of things because you don't think of them. If you're not thinking of them, then you don't think of them. And as I started to write, I didn't know how to start, like where to start, in the middle, maybe. How funny is it, is it interesting, whatever. And I just I just started somewhere back in England with an incident. And I hadn't thought about this for so long, and in the end, I've already written a page and a half, and all this stuff, all this detail came flooding back. So I'm actually quite looking forward to this, because it's almost like there's another Clive out there with all these stories, and he's trying to tell me, to remind me what they are. And it's only when I start writing that he's actually going to let me in on some of the details. So I'm looking forward to working with this guy.
So, what? Well, I don't want to have any spoilers, I guess, but the first page. You mentioned that you started in the middle. What was the story that came to mind that you sort of started with on your first page?
I started talking about when I left Ealing Art School in the early 60s, or mid 60s, I guess it was, mid 60s. I teamed up with a colleague, Michael English, who has unfortunately passed on quite a few years ago. Michael English turned out to be quite a well-known artist, painter. He did a lot of airbrushing stuff. But we started working together, doing like painting storefronts. And one of them was in South Kensington. And it was a spiffy guy with a razor mustache and cologne for days, who was a hairdresser. And he had this tiny little hairdressing salon with a grungy little basement. And he wanted to turn the basement into a boutique, into a fashion boutique. So Michael and I did all the grunt work. And he wanted to call it the house at Pooh Corner, based on
Amen.
Amen. So for the grand opening, he actually had Alice, the original Alice. I think she was about 80.
Wow.
And she didn't know what was going on. She seemed to be very confused. But the thing is, so we did all the inside, and everything was great like that. So we got to do what we love to do, and that was to paint the design of the outside and everything. So it only had like a 30-inch door. We couldn't get the house at Pooh Corner on that. It was too long. So we abbreviated it considerably. We abbreviated it to Pooh Corner, and then that came down to just the two letters of each of those words, Poco. So the boutique became Poco, like Poco Loco, which means a little crazy. I can't remember what his response was to that, but we changed his whole vision of the thing. So from a little sort of fairy tale, children's literature kind of theme, to something that was very trendy, very hip. Poco Loco, it's great. Anyway, no, it was just something I remembered. And there's 1,000 little things like that. So yeah, so I worked with Michael for a little while, and then I kind of decided that I needed to pursue what I really wanted to pursue, and I wasn't sure what that was. It wasn't music, even though I've played music all my life, and that was a possibility. I used to play in pubs just to make money, dirty little pubs. So I didn't pursue that because I didn't think that was going to support me. So I thought, well, art, I mean, I've been to art school for 3 years. I really need to do something like that. And I stumbled into animation. And I found this tiny little boutique in Richmond, which is just west of central London, by the river. Beautiful place. Tiny little boutique animation studio, and they were doing the Beatles series, animated series, and the Lone Ranger. So that's where I started animating. and they were just subcontracted from other places. They were subcontracted from a larger organization in London, which was subcontracting from King Features in the States. Anyway, so that was my beginning, and it was such a, I was so fascinated by the process. I was because back in the day, you drew everything by hand, and it was Xerox. It was copied onto sheets of plastic, linear image on plastic, was painted on the back, and then shot on 35 millimeter. It was a process. And that was the process that we used in Nelvana for the first 15, 20 years of production. It didn't change. Well, it changed in the way it became more sophisticated, and we figured out how to do stuff. Anyway, I'm jumping ahead, but that's how I got into animation.
I'm just getting shivers of still dealing with bipack element shooting on the old Oxbury cameras. I'm just old enough that when I started, it was the tail end of that. We were still using Oxburys. Right.
We had before. Now we're shooting forward to Nelvana, which I'll tell you how I came over. So I worked in this boutique studio in Richmond for about, I think it was about a year and a half before they closed because they ran out of work. And one of the guys that I was working with there had been working in Canada in the past, and he called me and said, "There's a gig. Would you like to go to Toronto?" And I said, "Are you kidding? No, I don't want to leave London."
Yeah.
Where's Toronto? He called me on and off over several days until, I thought, well, he wanted me to meet this gentleman named Vladimir Gotzelman, who was recruiting. He was recruiting from various European countries.
Was that for Al Guest?
Correct. He worked for Our Guest. And eventually I was talked into meeting Vlad. We drank beer for an entire afternoon and talked about all sorts of stuff. And I realized at the end of the conversation, it would be so easy for me to say, "No, I'm not going to go to Canada. I'm going to stay here in London and do nothing, play the piano and do whatever naughty things I was doing at the time." I thought it was so easy to do that. And yet, listen, there's a whole other world out there. And he was offering me such a cool gig. I mean, he said, "It is for a year, for 1 year. We're going to pay your fare. We're going to set you up, pay your hotel until you find a place to live." A salary that I'd never even imagined in my wildest dreams, which is not very much now, but in the day it was. So I came over. And to work on Rocket Robin Hood. That's who he was getting crewed up for.
I watched Rocket Robin Hood.
Yeah, I bet you did.
When my old bosses was on it, Ron Black at Amberwood, he was on it. I don't know if you knew Ron.
I did know Ron. Yes. The thing is...
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's just bringing some memories back here.
Yeah. No, so Vlad brought me over, but he brought me over in advance of the start of production because there was a commercial they wanted to be animated. My goodness, I was still a very, very new animator. I was an assistant. I was more or less an assistant. But anyway, so we had this commercial. So he threw me on the commercial. And in the end, I just stayed doing commercials with Vlad while Rocket Robin Hood started production. I think I did the opening sequence of Rocket Robin Hood. I think I did that. And that was about it. Then, well, Al Guest kind of folded for a number of reasons. And And then I, here I am in Toronto. Now it was here because like, okay, he asked me to come for a year, but the year went by in about 25 minutes because not only did I get really interested in working with Vlad and with the company, I also started a band with Carol Pope and Kevin Staples. We had a band called O, as in the story of O. It's just the three of us. And it was new and exciting and dull and boring at the same time. Toronto was dull and boring in those days. In 1967 is the year that I came over here. You couldn't even go into a bar if you didn't have a girlfriend.
Wow.
Just guys had to go into the guy section only.
Toronto the good, I guess.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good. It was bad, very bad.
That's horrible.
So those were the bad parts. The good parts were Al and Vlad had built up this crew for Rocket Robin Hood. And I don't know how many people. It must have been about 150 people, all told, all young people. I was young in those days. I think I was 22. So it was a whole host of these young, excited, creative kids. And we basically had our own society. We built our own little community within the boring status of Toronto. And there were parties practically every night somewhere. So it was fun. It was actually fun in those days. And the cars were so huge. I mean, they were 90 feet long. I couldn't believe it. Coming from London, where most cars are small, so they fit the roads.
Yeah.
Seeing Toronto, it was almost like being in a cartoon, to tell you the truth. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot. Worked with Vlad for a bit, then that all closed down. No, sorry, So our guest closed down. Vlad put us on hiatus, and I started a little company doing party events. I had projectors. I made screens out of balloons, like about 200 balloons as a screen. And then I had machines that tumbled stuff and just light effects, but all made of wooden cardboard, just crazy stuff. And I was doing parties for a little while. That was fun. And then Vlad started Cinera. So he started up his own company, and that included myself and several other people who were let go from the guest group, and I worked with Vlad for a couple of years. Then I went freelance, and he was very upset. I remember to this day. I mean, having had my own company, and having people leave me, I now know how upset he was. But that's the way it goes. That's the way it went. So I went freelance for a little while, and I was just doing stuff for OECA, which was
TV Ontario.
TV Ontario back then. I was doing a lot of short films for them, little animated things. And then I got a call from Michael Hirsch, who was looking for somebody who was actually a friend of both of us, somebody we both knew. And I knew that he had gone back to London, so he wasn't around. And I said to Michael, "What is it you're looking for?" And all he wanted to do was some mats or something. I don't know, something. I said, "Listen, I can do those. It's easy." But that was my introduction to Michael and his buddy Patrick Loubert. We ended up doing a few projects together, and then we decided to form Nelvana and make it real. And that was in 1971. And that was the beginning of Nelvana. That's the three of us. Just the three of us started in this walk up on King Street West above our printers. We had one floor, and then I think we had the second floor as well. We had two floors. Did we? That's too far. I don't remember. I don't remember.
I think I saw some pictures of it from then. I don't know if they're in the book.
Yeah. The cool thing is, there were two washrooms, and one of them, funnily enough, we used as a washroom. The other one became my camera room, and I had a wind-up Bolex, and it was over the toilet, which was dry, not used, unused toilet, clean.
Just put a light in the bowl?
That was the light. I put a light in the bowl, and that became my light source for rear lighting. So, and I would shoot at night, because at night, the electricity was a little bit more stable than it was during the day, because the streetcar bounding around outside on King Street West, it really drew a lot of electricity, so it was flickering a lot. It was better at night, but so that's where I was shooting, and I did all the camera work and all the animation, cutting out, drawing, painting, shooting, taking it to the lab, waiting for it to come back, going, oh, that's not very good, is it? Do it again. Anyway, those were the days. Those were fun days.
You know, it's funny. Some things change and some things stay the same. I will not mention the name of the processing lab, but I remember, because I was still working even when I was in school, and we would shoot commercials, and we would take them to a 35 mil developing lab in Toronto. Mm-hmm. And my favorite one to go to was Deluxe. So this was long after Medallion PFA.
Right.
And I think, I don't remember, were they in Toronto or Montreal? Anyway, Deluxe was my favorite. But then when Deluxe stopped doing 35 mil developing, we had to go to another place. And I found it got to the point where I had to go in there with a chip chart, because they were printing everybody, because they would just figure that it was some runner that was going in and dropping off cans of film. And they would print everybody's film about a quarter stop up to a half stop, over or under. And then they would say, oh, well, you know, your DP must have screwed up. It's like, no. Here's a chip chart. So I miss film, but I don't miss it. But you never knew exactly what you were going to get coming back from the lab. And I don't think that ever really changed.
Deluxe was Film House, right? Before it was Deluxe.
Yeah, Deluxe was Film House before, which I think you guys were developing at, weren't you guys at Nelvana?
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Oh, we worked with Film House all the time. And film opticals.
Yes.
Film opticals. I did an opening sequence for the first film that Nelvana actually made. The first live action film that we made was called 120 Rooms of Comfort. And Patrick directed it. I did an opening sequence, which I'm proud of to this day, actually. It's pretty cool. I don't know. It must be on YouTube somewhere. I certainly don't have a copy of it. But I rented a camera which shot I think I could wind it down to 2 or 3 frames a second. So Patrick is driving and I'm hanging out of the window shooting, moving images, backgrounds. It was in the story took place in St. Thomas, Ontario. So we went to St. Thomas to shoot all of the opening thing. And then, so all of these stills, it was shooting black and white, all of these stills I had processed and printed frame by frame onto acetate because I was an animator, and those are the tools that I was familiar with. So I have all these single frames on acetate, and I painted them as if they were cells, and then reshot them with a system that I don't know if I developed it. I don't think I did, but it's a thing where you do 4 passes, and each pass has a certain value, like a certain aperture, which fades out, fades in, fades out, fades in, fades out. And the dope sheet, the exposure sheet, is quite complicated. It's 4 channels, and it's like drawing number 1, drawing number 5, drawing number 9, drawing number 13 or whatever. And then the second one is drawing number 2, drawing number 6.
I'm picturing that dope sheet make my head explode.
Yes. And that's how we shot it, right? You shoot it one way with one set of images, roll it back, and then shoot the next set of images. So they're all merging. What they're doing is they're all fading into each other. It's a brilliant effect. It's a brilliant effect that took forever to figure out, and even longer to actually produce and to shoot, and to cry when it comes back from the lab and you realize you've made a mistake and you've got to reshoot it again. Now you can do it on this little laptop that I have in front of me with some buttons. You can probably do the same thing in about 20 minutes. So that's where we came from, and that's where we are now. But you know what? It was so much fun figuring stuff out. The early days of Nelvana, it was the 3 of us for, quite a while, until we started to get into some actual production. And around the same time that we were building Nelvana, we started to build Nelvana, the animation course at where am I talking about? In just west of Toronto, Sheridan was just starting their animation course, and so people were starting to come out of Sheridan, having done 2 or 3 years. I suppose they were obviously not just starting it, but they were somehow it was coordinated. So we were getting the benefit of new animators coming out of Sheridan, and and that's really how we built the studio. We built it with young kids, young people, boys and girls, who were just starting and just learning, and we were learning too. So the whole atmosphere of the early days of Nelvana was that we were all figuring out how to do things, and that was so much fun, and it was so important. It's so important to figure out stuff for yourself rather than getting some software and clicking a button and having it work for you. I think anyway.
It's not as fun.
It's true, isn't it?
I still fight with film and 2-inch tape sometimes, just to kind of change it up.
Good. Yes.
I swear at it less. It generally does what I want. It takes longer to make it do what I want. But
right. Yes.
I'm not as fast with the Steenbeck as I used to be, though. I used to be able to edit with that almost as quickly as I could with an NLE from tape. But
really.
But not so much anymore.
When we later on in the Nelvana story, when we got into doing series work, and we were doing quite a lot of production, we started to work in Asia. We worked with companies, with studios over there, and I would go over quite frequently. I spent a lot of time in South Korea, as a matter of fact. But I was over there for one series that we had to, it was, the deadline was very, very tight. What we would normally do is all the design and layouts, all the writing, all the pre-production and the early stages of the production were done in Toronto. And then it would get sent over in packages. So once it was over in South Korea or China, as it was also, and in Taiwan, they would get these packages, and one package would be a scene, and the scene would have the dope sheet with all the timing. It would have the rough poses, and then so what they would do is clean up and do all the in-betweens, paint, shoot onto film. So they did that part of the production. So the occasion that I'm thinking of, it was what was the series? Can't remember. But anyway, it was getting so tight that we didn't have time to send the footage back to Toronto to be edited and to do all the post-production. I was over there in Korea, and I found a flatbed, and it wasn't a what did you call it? What was the name of the flatbed? You mentioned it.
I mentioned it?
Yeah, didn't you?
I'm having a bit of a brain fart.
Was the generic? So there was a particular make that was more popular in North America. But anyway, I found a German version of it, and in pieces, in the basement of the studio that we were working at. And I thought, listen.
Oh, the Oxberry.
No, that's
no, that's not.
Yeah,
that's a camera. I'm not sure what you meant by flatbed.
Right. Yeah, the editing machine.
Oh, Steenbeck.
Right? Steenbeck. Thank you. Right. So we were used to Steenbecks, which were quite streamlined. So this German thing, it was like an old tank. It was a little rusty. We dragged it out, assembled it, put it all together, and figured out it actually worked. Except the light unit, because it was, 40 years old or something, this machine, we couldn't find any parts for it. So I actually made a light, a thing for the light bulb out of silver paper, and it held together for the longest time. But this thing was amazing. It had a big crank handle on it to go fast and slow and reverse. It was sort of like steering a ship.
Can't kill though. I bet you it still works wherever it is.
I bet it does. Oh, absolutely. It was so solid. And
I'm
so
sure of
heavy.
it. I'm not even being funny. I bet you it still works.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, we ended up doing all our fine cutting over there, and then sending back the finished film. The finished picture, not the finished film, the finished picture. Yes. Adventures in South Korea.
So one of the things that a lot of people probably don't know about, and I might be screwing this up. I remember a lot of these fun stories in the 30 Animated Years book, and people that I knew that were there at the time. Just some of the stories from, because before, I think you eventually changed the name to Nelvana. Wasn't it called Laugh Arts or something before that?
No, Laugh Arts was.
Or was that a different company?
It was, but Patrick and when I first met Patrick and Michael, they had Laugh Arts as a loose,
Gotcha.
identity. It was never really used. They didn't really use it. No, we used Nelvana. Nelvana was a character from the comic books, from the Canadian Whites.
Nelvana of the
Canadian
Northern
Whites.
Lights.
Yeah, Canadian Whites was a series of comic books that were produced here from the start of the war, because when the war started, there was an embargo on unnecessary imports, both in and out, imports, exports, whatever. So one of the first things that it killed was comic books coming from the States. So overnight, almost overnight, we had a comic book industry. And Patrick and Michael had discovered these Canadian comic books in a comic book store, and the owner sold them to us, and we bought them. We bought the rights, and one of the characters, one of the stories was Nelvana of the Northern Lights. We were actually going for Northern Lights for the name of the company, but we couldn't get it because it was taken by something else. I don't know, it was a bracelet company or something stupid. So we took Nelvana. We took her name.
A jewelry company took the name? Wow.
It was something like that. And it doesn't make any sense when I talk about it now, because even if it had been a jewelry company, we could still have used it as a film company.
Yeah, because
it shouldn't have stopped us.
No, it shouldn't have, because when you're filing for copyrights, because it's based by category.
Yeah, that's right.
So you can, as long as it's not in the same category,
right?
It's like
right.
42 film or whatever, and then 38, like everything has its category in both U.S. and Canadian copyright.
Yeah.
So you should have been able to use it.
No, absolutely. So when I'm telling the story, I say to myself, "Wait a minute, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense." But that's how I remember it. That's how I remember deciding on Nelvana as the name.
Or a lousy attorney that didn't do that. Maybe we're sleeping through the bar and they didn't tell you it's happened.
Yeah, you go. Yep.
So I'm gonna go back a little bit. I know probably a lot of people are going to be thinking Cosmic Christmas and rock and roll, which I definitely want to. I noticed you had the rock and roll hat.
I do.
Which is
I do. My son made this for me.
Yeah, that's really cool. I have. Oh, you know what? Here, one sec. I want to show you something. I had the DVD copy, and then one of my roommates took it somehow. Oh. Nice thing about the internet is it's not TV, so I don't have to worry about how it looks if I just walk off camera.
Right.
It's a podcast. So
right.
I still have this.
Oh yeah.
I can't believe how
that's a Bluetooth, right?
Yeah.
Looks like, yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe because I was just curious, and I'm like, oh, a friend of mine wanted to see it because they knew about it, but they hadn't seen it. I'm like, really? Didn't see it. Sorry, just check because I'm not using my. Okay, here we go. Host guest. Yeah. Unprofessional moment of mine. Yeah, and they're going for like. I got this when it first came out, and then I got the Unearthed on DVD, and then this was to replace my DVD. They're going for like $300-400 on eBay now. Did you know that?
No.
Like, people are fighting for the. Yeah, I looked it up. Well, I don't know what it is now, but about a year ago, I was like, it might be nice to have another copy of it just in case. And it's like $400. There's people bidding for them, and I posted a picture of it. And I was getting emails from people saying, "Can I buy your copy?" No, it's mine. So
wow.
I don't know if you knew, but there are people that are. I had a friend that had she had a Mock T-shirt. My name is Mock.
Right.
Yeah. So So
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew, probably, but there's
Well, I
definitely
knew-
resurgent of interest in it.
Yeah. Oh, well, there is. There is. Amazingly, it's incredible. I put together a presentation at OCAD
Yeah.
last year.
Wow.
No, you weren't here. You were in Regina.
No, I wasn't there, but I feel like I read something about it, but I wasn't there.
Right. No, it was great.
We still talk. Animation people talk.
Sure. Yes, Philippe, who was the head of the department, head of the whole art department, invited me to do a presentation. So, I spent about a month just pulling together I mean, I do have a lot of stuff galore. This house is a stuff house, but I have a lot of material from our productions, a lot of sketches, line drawings. So I was able to put together a visual presentation, and I took everybody through the early development of rock and roll, which in fact it was originally called Drats, and it was quite a different story, but there were similarities. It was much more of a fairy tale, but I took everybody through that, and I have a whole visual development of Drats, and then getting into rock and roll, and talked about some of the production techniques. And it was really nice because the audience, the students who came to see it, were so intrigued with it, which is fantastic, because and I had a display of cells and backgrounds and stuff like that, and they were looking at these things like going, is this what you actually made? Is this how it was done? So in this day and age of digital technology, that whole process is just, it's unknown.
They hadn't seen a cell? The kids hadn't seen a cell?
No.
Wow.
No, they hadn't. And I was talking about, what we were talking about doing effects, doing slit scan effects and streaks, and in camera, putting sandwiching films together to go through the camera, and doing all that stuff, all these in camera effects, and just figuring out how to do stuff. You visualize the shot, you visualize how the camera should be moving through the shot, and then you figure out how to do it with two-dimensional drawings.
Slit scan's pretty cool, though. You get these trails that come right toward the camera, and just basically just pull it while the exposure is still going, just in like a little hole, and then it comes toward the camera.
That's right.
It's a cool, trippy effect.
Yeah,
which
it is.
The one I really miss. Remember the well, I guess it's IMAX Dome they call it now, but OmniMax. They still had it. They still had it up until like in the early 2010, like just before 2010 when I left. They still had that trippy slit scan demo intro at the Ontario Science Center in the OmniMax.
Right.
They had it in Ottawa too. Well, okay, Gatineau, but it's like the Outaouais where I grew up. And I used to look, one of my favorite things was that crazy slit scan intro. And people would actually get sick. They would.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Be like, whoa.
Yeah. I did an OmniMax animated film.
I did. That was kind of my not so subtle sag. I was curious to know more about it.
Right, with Graham Ferguson. It was called Journey to the Planets, and it was essentially a educational film. It was about the solar system and talking about the planets.
Yep.
But we created a little story about a group of aliens who are coming from a far distant planet looking for a new place to live, looking for a planet that had water, essentially, a blue planet. And so we follow them from this unknown point in outside the solar system, and we travel all the way through. So I worked with the Jet Propulsion Lab in California, in Pasadena,
Yep.
which is amazing, by the way. Amazing. It's a whole village. So there were about, I think, about 4,000 or 5,000 people working at JPL when I was there. And to be introduced to their whole system, I had to take my passport, leave the passport at the door, get photographed, fingerprinted, all that stuff to go in with a guide. And we went in and to look at all the computers and to look at all the stuff that was talking to the stuff out in the galaxy, because, they sent probes as, far back as the early 60s. They were sending probes. And the funny thing was, there's a whole floor at JPL of computers on tables, on shelves, standing on the floor, whatever. It was it was like a department store. And hanging over a lot of these computers was just these cardboard signs saying like what it was. And one says sort of Magellan 5 or Saturn 3.2 or whatever. And the crazy thing is that there are huge computers that are still working, still chatting away. And that's at one end. And then at the other end, there are little laptops that are doing the same thing. So in a sense, there's a whole history of computing and a whole history of the technology behind space communication. And there was one machine that was just chomping away. And I asked this guy who was sort of showing me, I said, like, why, how come we're still using this technology? And he said, well, this is the technology that matches the technology out there that was sent up in 1962 and is now 400 light years away or whatever. And they're still getting signals. They're still, it might be a bleep every 14 months, but it's a signal, and they're not going to shut it down as long as they're getting a signal. But it's interesting the technology down here is going to match the technology up there. They can't change this. They can't upgrade the technology here.
Well, it can't talk to itself.
That's right.
They can't talk to each other.
Yeah. So anyway, going back to the dome, working on this project was really neat. So we had to sort of retool our whole camera system to accommodate the IMAX camera, which is a 70 millimeter camera, and mounted on the Oxbury. We had to turn the room into a clean room. And I learned all this stuff when I was in Pasadena at JPL, figured out how they did it, and they have clean rooms. Their whole place is a whole series of clean rooms, and clean rooms means there's not a speck of dust. So the room, first of all, has to have a high pressure in it, has to be pressurized, so that if a door is opened, the air is pushed out and not pushed in. You have to go in with you have sticky mats at the beginning, at the opening entrance to the room. You have sticky mats. So you have to walk with your nice clean shoes across sticky mats to get all the dust off your shoes. And I forget a whole bunch of other things, but the actual shooting was crazy because I had to build a large format. Oh, Wizzy, where are you go? Oh, my cat is starting to. Wizzy, be careful, please. I have two Maine Coon cats. They're huge.
Aw.
They love climbing. And it doesn't matter what. So, and this is not a good place for cats to climb. Stay there, Wizzy. Stay.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I have a Siamese cat that is currently not doing something stupid, but was about to knock something over. It looked like not that long ago.
Oh, really?
I have a Siamese, and I have a 140-pound king. Oh, now she's actually sitting on the other side of the microphone amp.
Oh, right.
She
Okay.
just popped her head up. And I have a 140-pound giant Alaskan Malamute King Shepherd mix.
Wow.
And a snake. I have a Russian rat snake.
Of course. Don't forget the snake.
Yeah. The one thing I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Just dealing with IMAX, also keeping everything in register. I don't have a huge amount of experience with IMAX film. I have a little bit, and it was a pain because it's like, but yeah, keeping the dust on it, have like a dust the size of a golf ball. Like how long did it take you guys to shoot that? Your artwork would have to be bigger. Everything would have to be bigger, and registration, I would think, would be a real fight. How'd you do
we used the same. We just used regular pegs, right? I think we might have doubled up on the pegs.
No, the film register when you're actually shooting the film frame by frame, not so much the animation artwork register, but I could see double peg too.
The film registration. I mean, that's in camera. That's the camera. That's the IMAX camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that didn't affect our process.
Oh, so you could advance it. You could advance it one frame at a time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were able to do that. We converted the IMAX camera. We had the technicians from IMAX working with us, obviously, to help set all that up. We even had, like, the film actually went through a sticky roller too.
Yeah.
I mean, everything was sticky to make sure there was no dust, and we had special cloths, and we had an iodine machine or something. It's a machine that just cleans the air of I don't know, iodines, isometric, something begins with an I.
Basically crap that will screw up your film if it gets on it, and then it develops with a nice big bunch of crap on it, and then you can't use it.
Exactly. And here's the other cool thing. Just figuring out how to produce a piece of art that will, when projected, will work on a concave screen. So, and you ask how that was done, I will tell you exactly how it was done. This cat is coming closer and closer and closer and threatening to jump onto. No, don't.
She's gonna do it. She or he?
It's a he.
Yeah, he's gonna do it. He'll do it. Right when you don't want the cat to jump,
right?
The cat will jump and will knock everything over. It's a universal law, I think.
He's gone behind the screen now. He's
just waiting for the camera to go.
On my printer. He loves sitting on the printer. Okay, so what I did he's turned the printer on. Where's he? Christ, what's he printing now? probably something he came up with in the middle of the night.
Well, at least he's not photocopying his ass.
I think he might be.
He might be. He might be. He's just
He is.
basically because if it's one of the big printers, it sounds like a laser based on the noise. Does it
Yeah.
have like so you can do photocopies like an old photocopier? He's
Yeah.
photocopying his ass,
Yeah.
and then you can
Yeah.
basically just sell the photocopy of his ass as lithographs and just call it some kind of a hybrid
This
performance
is funny.
art.
The paper's coming up and it pushed him off. That's great. That's great. He's now freaked out.
He didn't like the result of his unintentional artwork.
That's right. So listen, this is what I was going to say. So we got a plastic dome about 6 feet in diameter,
Yeah.
semisphere, and marked it up with a a grid. And when we created a grid, a flat grid, a rectilinear grid that worked with that. So here's what we did. We'd go in, stand inside the dome, and rough out with a wax pencil, rough out the perspective, the positioning of the characters, the size of the characters, and as much as we could. And then an assistant would then go into the grid with a copy of the flat version, the rectilinear version of the grid, and copy it onto the flat version. And so now we had a layout that was flat, but was exactly the same as the curved version.
That's smart.
It was the only way to do it, because again, nowadays, you just push the button and it would do it all for you. I mean, AI
You
would
couldn't
figure that
do
out.
that then.
No. We did it the only way we figured out we could do it. So yeah, it was a long process, an incredibly long process, and the sad thing is that you can only see this film. Sorry, I got to get him off.
It's okay. I've got a cat. I totally get it.
Come on, down. Good boy.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, Clive Smith, co-founder of Nelvana, tries to wrangle a Maine Coon.
Cat wrangler.
Cat wrangler. Yes, Mr. Clive A. Smith, co-founder of Nelvana, is in an epic match trying to get a stubborn Maine Coon to cooperate.
Yeah, I have 2 Maine Coons. The other one
Oh,
is
dear
not
God.
quite as big yet, but is getting bigger. So
How old?
the oldest one is 1.5 years, and the
Oh,
youngest
cute.
one is about 10 months.
Okay, so still a kitten on the tail end of kittenhood, but
Yeah.
fillet of kitten.
Oh God.
Oh man. Well, how are the layout artists must have wanted to kill you.
I probably.
You're bone up on your 3-point perspective.
Yeah. It was very tricky. We would have to. What was it? It was so much testing. It was so much shooting a burst of 20 seconds, and then processing it, because it was processed in California, and then we get a 35 millimeter check print. We check it on the flatbed
Yeah.
and see if technically it was working. And then if it was technically working, we'd call for a 65 millimeter print or a 70 millimeter print. And then we'd fly to Pittsburgh, because in Pittsburgh, they had the best, at the time, they had the best Omnimax screen. It was a fixed screen. They had one there was one that we could use in Ottawa. I think it was Ottawa, or was it Montreal? Maybe it was Ottawa or Montreal.
What year was this? Like 88, 89, 90, or were we in the early 90s at this point?
Yeah.
It would have been, my guess, because Montreal, I don't know if I think they did. Ottawa was, well, I was 5 years old when or 4 years old when the one in Ottawa opened, because I was there for opening night, because it was a big thing, and it was like Blue Planet and everything, and they hadn't actually finished the museum yet. Movie theater was open, you know, but the actual Museum of Civilization, or whatever they call it now, because they keep changing the name of it, wasn't open yet.
Their Omnimax IMAX theater, it was an IMAX Omnimax theater, so that it was
hybrid.
convertible, and the Omnimax screen would come down, but it was made of aluminum.
Yes,
it was a metal screen, so it wasn't white, so you couldn't really see the true colors. So that's why I used the one in Pittsburgh, which was a fixed white screen.
That makes sense.
It was just better quality. So, but that's, you know, that was the thing. You could just every piece of film that we shot, we had to go through that process of doing a 35 millimeter print, check it as well as we could, and then check it on the full size screen.
Did you at least do the 35 in black and white first to make sure everything was registered? Or did you just go straight to color, like, we're already blowing all this on development, so
we went to color? Yeah,
went straight to you're going that far, you know, you may as well.
Yeah. Stringing it up in the Omnimax theater is very interesting, because the Omnimax theater has a very steep gradient for the audience things, and it's, I think it's called the doghouse. It sits right in the middle. That's where the camera is, and that's where the lens is. Sorry.
Yeah.
And the actual projector is 10 or 12 feet below. So when you're just looking at a piece of film that's 20 seconds, it has to have miles of leader, both ends, right?
Yeah.
Just to get it up there, and then you'd see it. You'd watch it for the 20 seconds of film, and I would sit there with Frank Nissen, who was my dear friend and co-partner in all of this. I'd say, you know, you watch for this, I'm going to watch for that, and we'd probably screen it like 6 or 7 times, which was about as much patience as the projectionist had to do it, to rethread it every time. Every time we had to screen it, every time we wanted to screen it, it would take 20 minutes just to lace it up.
Yeah.
Crazy times.
It's there's one IMAX theater here. There's not a lot of the classic, they don't have an Omnimax here.
No,
they have a traditional, original style IMAX. And Trevor in Regina, and I went up with Trevor, and we did, because we were like, you know what? There aren't a lot of people that know what is what. People don't think of what goes on with having to thread this stuff. Why don't we do a featurette? So we went up there, and I just did like a little featurette with them. This is the IMAX technology, and here's what it goes on, and basically don't bitch. This is why there's only 2 screenings a day. Right. It takes a while. It's a big, huge platter. Like, you can't pick it up.
No.
And the projector bulb is the size of a freaking basketball.
Sure.
In fact, bigger than that. Medicine ball.
Yeah.
Frank Nissen, I didn't ever meet him, but when I think of the name, it's the name that I keep thinking popping up, because he was from, I think, the Devil and Daniel Mouse. I feel like wasn't he on that? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's pretty prominent in that.
Very much so. He designed the characters and did a lot of the layouts and animation. Yeah.
I just think of Funky Jan. I should get like a Funky Jan pin or something and make one.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm invited to do a presentation of Devil and Daniel Mouse, similar to what I did for rock and roll.
When's that? Where is that?
Well, I don't know yet. It'll be later on in the year, and I think it's at the library.
In Toronto at like the reference library?
Yeah.
That'd be a good place for it.
Yeah.
You know that'll just be completely packed, right?
I think so.
Like as soon as assuming it's open to the public, as soon as that comes up, they're like, "Hey, we're doing a screening." It'll just be gone. and then 30% of the tickets will be scalped by is the Beguiling still around?
It is.
That was the go-to comic book store and get all the drawn and quarterly stuff where we used to go.
Yeah.
It's still around?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love the Beguiling. It's too bad the Silver Snail didn't make it, but we still have the Beguiling, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
That would be. So you think they're going to show, so they'll show, I guess they'll show the special and and then I guess the making of or something like that, maybe.
None of that's been decided, but yeah, we're definitely going to screen the movie, obviously, to talk about, and I'll probably do the making of. I don't know, or maybe I'll just talk about that, but
Well, yeah, I guess you don't really need the making of because you're there.
Because I'm going to talk about
exactly
how we made it. Yeah.
How the one thing I wasn't sure when you did at OCAD, was the whole movie screened for Rock and Roll?
Yes. And it was a great screening, by the way.
Wow.
We had a fabulous version of it, which we actually got. Where did we get that from? I forget. Anyway, really good quality and big screen, great sound. I hadn't seen it like that for a long time, and I was impressed. I really enjoyed it. I would love to have seen it on the big screen. If you're going to then talk about a film really enthusiastically, it would be good to have screened a really good version of it.
Yeah. So, who owns the rights to it? Because was it Chorus
it's
or
still Chorus? It's
okay.
Still Chorus. Yeah.
So they were good about screening it, and they were fine with.
I didn't ask them.
Huh.
I didn't ask them.
There's one place I can think of that it would absolutely sell out, and there would be a line around the block. The Mayfair Theater in Ottawa. Are you familiar with the Mayfair?
No.
It's one of these. It's a beautiful, nice, big theater, but somehow, ask anybody that was in Ottawa and is from Ottawa. I'm telling you right now, if Rock and Roll were screening there, it would sell out. Like it would be.
Do they use it for the festival, for the animation festival?
Yes, they do.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
they do. For the Ottawa International Animation Festival,
then I've been there.
They certainly have historically in the past. They have a lot of screenings are held there.
Right.
It's an old Art Deco.
Great.
Yeah, and it's a really nice theater. That would be epic. I wonder if there'd be. Would almost be worth seeing if there was a way. See if there's anybody I know at Chorus. Maybe there'd be a way to set something up because it would fill. There would be a line around the block.
I didn't bother to ask anybody at Chorus because, first of all, there's not the interest. A lot was going on at Chorus at the time.
Yeah.
Shutting down Nelvana, shutting down the production facility.
Yeah, that's really
it was a big thing. a lot was going on, so it just didn't make any sense to even ask them. I figured, do the screening and apologize later, if if it's necessary, and it wasn't. It wouldn't have been necessary. I mean,
I don't blame you.
if anything, it's in their own interest to have these productions out there.
Well, there's also a huge history and a huge library because, I mean,
Oh God, yeah.
pretty much
Yeah.
name any cartoon. Like, look at me. I'm 41. I grew up on Nelvana cartoons, right? So I was
Sure.
watching, Babar, and I was watching Inspector Gadget, and I was watching and the specials they ran on CBC. I mean, they were even rerunning the Small Star Cinema in the late 80s on occasion.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, they did run them. They ran them. I remember seeing them on, I think it was CBOT, was the Ottawa, because I grew up in Ottawa, right?
Right, right.
So, but all these cards, like pretty much almost every licensed show you guys did. So,
Yeah.
My Pet Monster and the Care Bears, which is actually kind of interesting because the specials were done in Ottawa, because they were done at Atkinson's, and then the series, and then you guys did the movie and then took over, and then you guys did the series.
For Care Bears.
Yeah, for Care Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did. And then we did the features. We did
Yeah.
3 or 4 features. Forget how many features we did, but
Yeah, I still remember that. I still remember that scene with the book with the
Okay.
incantation. I saw that, and I was watching. I'm like, wow, this is really dark. I'd love this. This is great.
yeah.
And I'm like, these runes. Somebody did their homework.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of that, like, it all holds up really well. But I'd love to see. It would be really nice to see Rock and Rule on the big screen. That would have been fantastic.
Well, we should do it again, I think. I mean, after the success at OCAT, I thought it would be worth doing. It would be worth, I mean, since I put the whole thing together, I mean, that took quite a few months just to gather all the material and to just figure out what I was going to say, how I was going to say it, what not to say. Don't bore people with unnecessary stuff.
Don't
Just-
think you can bore people with all those
well,
stories.
you just want to get the good stuff, the fun stuff out. Anyway, no, having done that, I could easily do it again.
Where would you think you would want to run it if you could pick anywhere to do it again?
Well, out in on the West Coast, I think I would like to do it. In Ottawa would be good.
Vancouver? Like that far
Yeah.
out west? That would fill it too.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to do it in the States, but I don't go to the States anymore.
No, it's
Not in there.
some things need to kind of
Yeah.
change, I think, before a lot of us go back to
Yeah.
the United States. And
Yeah.
still, we all have lots of friends there. I mean,
Sure.
my day job, we're doing syndicated programming there all the time. So it's like
Right.
all my buddies, I'm like,
Your
we're going to
sports
go have that beer, but we got to wait until
Right.
things change a little bit. Oh, is that you or me? Oh, you.
No, that was me. Don't worry.
I have to change. It's like get the same stuff. So, so now you're writing a book. Are there any stories that kind of, well, it'd be kind of hard to pick, but in the early days of Nelvana, like, how did you, when you guys set it up, what were your first contracts? Just like how did you get them? It's always tough to get the first one.
Well, we had friends at the CBC.
Yeah.
Rena Kravonia
Mhm.
was she was the buyer. So she bought a lot of stuff, and she was very, very fond of the upcoming, the young filmmakers in Toronto, and we kind of fell into that category. And so what she did for us was to hire us to do these fillers. Now, fillers were short blips of nothing, and they were strictly to fill gaps. When a program finished short of the next one starting, they put fillers in. And it took us a long time to understand what fillers were. Fillers, in fact, were rushing water, trees swaying in the breeze, empty fields, a cow standing alone in a field. That's a filler. But we didn't understand that, so we started writing all these stories. We wrote, and that's where small star cinema started, by the way. We did Sounds of Music, Happy Chalk Dog. We did Mr. Rubbish and the
I saw that one.
Wonderful, with Carol Pope narrating. Did you notice that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got Carol to do the narration, and she was so deadpan. It was, I haven't heard it for ages, but I'd
have to go find it. I haven't seen it well, frankly, I wouldn't have seen it since I was a kid. I remember it, but it's like a long, old memory. I need to find it.
And then, of course, Mr. Pencil draws the line.
Yes.
I was Mr. Pencil. That was me. That was me in a vinyl pencil costume.
I hope it was in the fall when you shot that and not the summer, because you would have been dying in Toronto.
Well, I was dying. I was dying.
No, you shot that in the summer?
The weather was good. I don't remember whether it was the fall or the summer.
Oh man, but it was.
But I was baking in it. High on Quaaludes too, by the way. But
well, as long as it's the good stuff.
That was just for my own, for me to get through the day. There was a very, very funny event. We were shooting at City Hall. And if you remember, City Hall has a raised section near the City Hall itself.
Yeah, it does.
And so the shot was Mr. Pencil running just across screen on this raised section of the town hall, City Hall. The camera was way, way, way over on Queen Street to give us a nice long shot.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have a crew in those days. We were shooting these films for nothing. And, it wasn't like we had anybody, controlling traffic or controlling anything. So I was there on my own. I think I had a walkie-talkie, so I could talk to Patrick or Michael, whoever was operating the camera. Again, wind-up Bolex. So, we just shooting. Yes, okay, go. So here am I walking across in a pencil costume. I can hardly move my feet because it's so tight, looking like a complete idiot. And these guys approached me in the middle of the shot. It's, who the hell do you think you are, mate? You think you're funny? Well, not in that tone of voice, but
no, but
you get the picture. So we had to sort of keep reshooting and trying to make sure that people didn't. It was okay to have people crossing, people, real life going on around me, but I didn't want to be abused.
Just some jerk just basically being a problem for no reason.
Yeah.
It's like, it's
Oh,
Toronto,
yeah.
man. It's like New York. If a guy's dressed up like a pencil, whether you see a camera or not, then piss off and let me finish up and walk the other way.
Absolutely.
Dickhead.
I would love to have copies of those films. I think there are some around, not all of them.
I think the
Okay.
ones that I remember, like they're some of them. I don't know if there's any on YouTube, but if there are, they'd be like a VHS recording
Yeah.
of when they were rebroadcast.
Yeah, that's right. They'd be pretty bad to look at. Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, I guess you could upres them. But the thing is a lot of the film, like I guess you were shooting those on 16, Super 16.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really comes down to where the reels are and if they were lost or if they weren't lost or might have
They're
bits and
lost.
pieces of one. Yeah.
They're lost. We've tried.
Oh,
We've gone back as far as Filmhouse and Film Opticals to see if, when they were around.
and little
No.
bits. There weren't even any little bits, eh?
Don't think so.
Jeez. But you know what? I bet you the one thing that would really surprise me was that the archives in CBC in Toronto are ridiculous. Like all these basements and sub-basements, and it goes on and on forever, assuming they're still there. They have so many air logs and records. It wouldn't surprise me if they might have like a 3/4 inch tape of some air check or something for a rebroadcast, and there might, like if they because I feel like they rebroadcast some of them in the 80s. I guess it would have been 3/4 inch then.
Right.
So my guess is that that's where there might be an accidental copy. That there might
It's
be,
possible.
yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's too bad because like a lot of this stuff just seems to get. Even when I was in Ottawa, like we would black tapes. Like a lot of the you can't do that on television stuff was lost too. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we just didn't document our lives that well back then. We were just interested in making films and then moving forward. It wasn't like, let's make sure that we get a copy, keep this, I didn't even have a camera in those days, it was way before iPhone. So we're not used to shooting stills during the day. So there's a lot of parts of my life that I would love to revisit, but we just didn't do that. We just didn't think of doing that. We're just thinking about moving forward, not moving back.
I can understand that. Well, I was pretty blown away by the amount of awesome photos that were tracked down for the 30 Animated Years book. I was like,
Yeah.
I'd never seen any of those pictures of
Okay.
anybody that I like. So they were
Yeah.
deep diving for that. Like, there's some pretty cool pictures in there.
Yeah, yeah. There's I know there's a picture of me and John Sebastian somewhere.
And the
These-
transfer of the Devil and Danielle Mouse making of is pretty good too.
These pictures. These.
Yeah. Those are the pictures that that's a great picture. That's a great picture.
Johnny Canuck.
Johnny Canuck. Assuming nobody goes after me for copyright, I'll take my. So when I put this on later on in the week, I'll scan my copy of that page and then I'll overlay it so people can see it in better.
Oh, cool. Oh yes, yeah.
Assuming nobody gets ticked at me, it should fall under fair use. 'Cause
Absolutely.
I know that picture, so I'll just scan it and then I'll put it up over in high resolution.
Great. It is definitely fair use. we did an exhibition when we did the Great Canadian Comic Books,
Yeah.
which was a compilation of the Canadian whites. We did a show that went around the country, I guess, and I followed it to a couple of places. I did take it to oh my God, I shouldn't start talking when I forget where I'm going with these things.
I start talking when I don't even know what I'm doing. So
what's the city in just west of Toronto that is very German?
Kitchener?
Kitchener Waterloo. You're
Kitchener,
right.
Waterloo, that
Thank
whole
you.
corridor.
Thank you. So we took the exhibition there, and one of the elements of the exhibition is a blow up of in one of the comic books, because it was wartime subjects, and it was all anti-Nazi and anti-Hitler and making fun of Hitler and stuff like that. So there was a game where you blow up a balloon, paint Hitler's face on it, and throw things at it. Something, some stupid game. Anyway, what I did was I made a giant version of this just for the exhibition. So I made a pair of huge paper mache boots, got a weather balloon, had Hitler's face silk screened onto it, and so when we did the show in Waterloo, I took this balloon to a local garage, to inflate it. Well,
I can see where this is going.
The garage was, a few blocks away from the museum.
Yeah.
So here I am, and it was around lunchtime, I think.
Yeah.
So there was quite a few people on the streets. I'm walking along with this giant balloon with Hitler's face on it in a German community. Anyway, I got some funny looks.
I'll bet you did.
Yeah.
I'll bet you did. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Kitchener, you know what? I've spent some time in Kitchener. Kitchener is weird, man.
Is it?
I think it was 2016, 2017. I was in Kitchener for a bit.
Right.
And the first thing that I saw, so there were a bunch of people outside of a restaurant in Lederhosen, literally. They were
really?
smoking. There was a pub about a block away. You could see it. And there's basically it was covered in sand where people could play volleyball, but it was like a pub. And then they were doing construction in the street. And then there was like a 90-pound, 50-something high as a kite dude in a Speedo smoking in a street across the street from some kind of a boutique. And there was a mannequin with a pink dress, wearing a gas mask next to a big official, I don't know if it was City Hall or something, and there's like a big giant cuckoo clock on it that would come out on the hour and yodel. I'm like, you can't make this up. And I was like, this is disturbing and amazing all at the same time. I love it. There was a show. I think Salter Street did the show, and it was a German-Canadian co-production science fiction show called Lex. Late 90s, early 2000s. Did you see it, or are you familiar with it?
No. Can't say I am.
It was a weird weird show that could, and it would run in prime time on City TV. And Chum dumped a lot of money into it. And it was like, it couldn't quite figure out if it was a blue movie. It couldn't quite figure out if it was science fiction. Sci-Fi Network picked it up, and it ran a while. It was very, very weird. I was a teenager at the time. Anyway, but I just remember Kitchener, every time I went, it was a scene out of this weird show. It was very, very weird. I know it has nothing to do with anything. I just was like, so you could make a movie here.
Right.
Like it'd be like something out of Monty Python or Blackadder or something.
Right.
It'd just be absolutely crazy. Anyway, sorry, I derailed. So how did that go? Did anybody give you a hard time? Or did they just look at you?
No, yeah, I'm alive to tell the story. So, it didn't turn out to be too nasty, but it was, it was just funny that, I mean, I think going into it, I wasn't fully aware of quite what I was doing. It was, to me, just go and fill up a balloon, take it to the, walk down the street with it, get it to where it's got to go. It was no big deal until I found these people like staring at me, and I learned, well, it's a heavy German community here,
Yet there's a giant Hitler balloon is apparently less offensive than dressing up in a pencil outfit in downtown Toronto.
Right.
Piss off the local Canadians with the promotion of visual literacy, but you walk around with like a giant Hitler face, and
right.
the most you get are some glowers, and oh my God. So your book, I don't want to keep you too long, but so are you sort of banging it out from day to day? Because I know there's going to be a lot of people that are probably going to want to buy that book when it comes out.
Yeah. No, I've started it, which is a great thing. It's a good thing to do, to start it. I've been thinking about it for a year. So now that I've actually put some words down, and I feel that there's some impetus here. I think it's probably going to take a year. It'll take a year. I think it'll take a year. It'll take at least a year. But yes, I'll be working on it. It'll be an ongoing project for me, and it'll get exciting. What I've got to do is I'm just sort of starting putting the ideas down. What I have to decide to do, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do about 5 or 6 pages or 5 or 6 different areas, not necessarily, running together. But once I've done that, I'm going to stand back and try and figure out what format I want this to go in, because I think it's important that I figure that out before I go too far, because it could change a few things. Figure out what kind of a book it'll be, what kind of a video it'll be, will there be links with links, will there be links in the book, will there be addresses to go to for the book, which probably I would do that. Just kind of figure out where it's going to go.
You think it'll be like a straight biography, or do you think it'll have pictures too, or like a coffee table book? Or
it'll be a mix of everything. It'll be a lot of my writing. It'll be a lot of my drawing. Be loads of drawings. I'll download pictures. I'll do drawings especially for the book. I'll put in a lot of old drawings. I mean, I've got, as I said before, I've got so much stuff. It'll be a little bit of a scrapbook, you know. There might be a page with "yeah" on it just to break it up, you know, something like that. Um, there won't be music in the book, unfortunately, but there could be links to music.
You guys have like a website tie-in, like an
Yeah.
interactive sort of.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool because it would be hard to, because you've worked with everybody. You work with George Lucas. You work with Tim Burton on Beetlejuice was one of my favorite when I was growing up. But what are your some of your favorite? I know it'd be hard to pick. It's like not too many people that got to make an Omnimax movie and work with all these properties, and basically it's just not done. And then how the feature, you've got so many stories that they all stand out. What are some of your, if you had to pick a few stories over your insanely productive career and basically, well, quite literally giving this country an industry, which we didn't really have. Like, I mean, there was stuff, but really international sales and stuff. What are some of your favorite, you know what, let me rephrase that because I'm blathering on here. What are some of the things that you're most proud of? What are the things that you're most proud of all the things that you've done? If you had to pick a couple that stand out for you.
Rock and roll, for sure. That was really, at the time, it was like a pinnacle for me, and I think for the studio. It was 4 years of production, and we just thought we were doing the greatest thing ever, you know. It was a big learning experience for us. We had done the short films. We had done, Devil and Down and Mouse, Cosmic Christmas, Take Me Up to the Ball Game, that whole series. And at the end of that, we figured we were ready to do a feature. And we figured that the feature was probably like maybe 3 or 4 times the amount of work for a half-hour TV show. No, it wasn't. It was a completely different animal, completely different. You know, I mean, there was so many things that we did not know, we didn't understand about feature film, certainly in the marketing of it. I mean, Michael did the best he could. We all did the best we could. But we learned, I guess, one of the strongest lessons we learned in rock and roll was that the most important thing was delivering a film. And the second most important was delivering a good film. So we actually shot ourselves in the foot because we had tried to make it better and better and better. It took longer than we thought. We put more into it than we thought we would put in. You know, just the size, the scope of the production, and to make it work for the big screen and not the little screen, it was just so much more than those short films, the television specials. It was so much more. And we kind of grew up, you know. I think we became adults through that. So, I mean, you know, to go back to your question, that was probably one of the high points for me.
It still visually is spectacular. Because I heard, what's that?
I said some of it is, yeah.
Yeah. Some of it is, and especially the big airship thing, and I mean, obviously the end sequence. But actually, you know what my favorite scene is visually? Just strictly visually? The scene at the beginning of the movie when, near the beginning of the computer. There's two. There's the one where he's in the car, and he's basically checking up on the computer for the Armageddon key. because I'm a sucker for, but I really like the color palette for that. And frankly, I'm a sucker for slit scan.
Right.
And the other part is when he's ticked off that he doesn't get the results from the computer that he likes. If I want your opinions, I'll give them to you.
Yes.
That's a great line.
Yeah. I mean, we were writing that as we were making it. You know, we didn't have a script when we started. I mean, you couldn't make a film like that now. Couldn't do it.
Oh my God, that would be really stressful.
We had an outline that wasn't really complete, an outline that was missing an ending, or it had maybe too many elements in it that would eventually come out. So, you know, we had a bare bones outline, and we just started making it. But the whole production was an invention. It was, I mean, I had a girl an actor, and she was actually the voice of the computer, but she formed acting classes for the animators. So we cast the animators as you would cast any actor to a character.
Yeah.
So Robin Budd, for instance, was Mock. So Robin was the key animator for Mock and the key designer, and then he would have his team of breakdown artists and in-betweeners. But we had them in to act the character, because, you know, when you're drawing, when you're animating, you are acting, and if you don't yourself in your own body understand the movement or understand the character, then you're not going to be able to draw it. You're not going to be able to animate it. We had these sessions maybe every couple of weeks, and it was very useful. But I mean, again, you know, this sort of harkens back to the early Disney days, because I know that the Disney animators would sit around sketching where they have a bunch of rabbits, you know, or kittens wandering around on the floor, and they would sketch them. They would, you know, this is how they would do their research and how they would build their design vocabulary, I suppose. We did a lot of things as if they were being done for the first time, and I think they actually were being done for the first time. They were certainly first for us. I mean, we figured out how to make that film.
And you did get distribution for it.
We did. Very limited distribution. Very limited distribution. I mean, it was MGMUA who, they started off with us, which was great. They put $1 million in. The rest of it was private financing. But during the production, let me just take this. I'm just gonna,
no worries.
Hey babes, I'm just on in doing a call right now. Okay, bye.
I don't want to keep you too long either. I feel like I'm eating everything.
I should probably wrap this up shortly.
No worries. It's
been a couple of hours right now.
Yeah, time flies.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. It evaporates. I figured out. It doesn't fly at all.
That's actually a good.
Not there. It doesn't come back.
That's actually more accurate, I would say.
Yeah, because if it flew, it could probably come back. You know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Time doesn't fly; it evaporates.
Right. What was I saying?
We were talking about, I think just basically, with MGM and UA at the sort of with you at the beginning for Rock and Rule.
Right.
And then I guess the evolution of that.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, everything took longer. So we stretched out the schedule. The budget got stretched, and unfortunately, during the time of the production, the people at MGM changed. So new brooms came in.
Oh, so
Started
you got the
sweeping.
executive suite.
So we didn't have the people who were keen on the movie at the beginning were not there, for the final release of the film. So
Oh
we didn't
no.
we didn't have a lot of friends there. We had a lot of people who thought they'd lost a lot of money on this, and so it was very, very disappointing.
And they dumped it in the theater to make it even more difficult to make money.
We well, it was theatrical.
Yeah.
It was meant to be in the theater. I went down to Boston with Frank to do a promotional tour because Boston was one of the cities that it was going to be released in. So Frank and I did the rounds of some of the universities there, giving a talk. We had a lot of material from the movie that we talked about and how we did it. And we did some interviews. We did some TV and radio interviews. We did whatever we could. And we were very, very disappointed when we went into the theater on opening night to see 5 people in the theater. And those 5 people were us. No, actually, no. There were 5 people besides us. It was horrifying. It was terrible. 4 years of intense work, but intense enthusiasm. I mean, we believed in this film so much. Anyway, it was what it was, and we learned. Did we learn? Yeah, I think we did. We learned a lot.
But now,
I've screened it.
oh,
I've
sorry, go
screened
ahead.
it. I took it. We took it we took it to where did we take it? We've taken it all over the place. We took it to Russia for their big.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
really
this is
cool.
about 5 years ago. That was great, to a film festival in Russia.
They probably thought it was pretty cool. Or
Yeah, hard to know.
didn't get much of a. Sometimes people don't emote; they're on their best behavior in the audience.
Right. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, yeah. Well, with the film festival, they're coming in and they're going, they're leaving and they go.
Yeah.
They've got this to see and they're going to go and that, and then they've got to see this to see, and they. So it's a bit of a different kind of. It's not exactly like a release of a movie.
No, it'd
So
be
you
a
can't
different
expect
thing.
people walking in and out. So it was a bit hard to say, but it was great being there. I tell you, it was great. What a country.
Well, the other thing too is, it's kind of getting a bit of resurgence because there's a lot of people that didn't know about it, and it's kind of,
Yeah.
especially in the animation community, like a bunch of us, it's it's certainly enough of a resurgence of popularity that if I ever lose this, I got to cough up like several $100 to get another copy.
That's
So
amazing.
That means something. That's not
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. No, that is amazing. I mean, I knew that when it first came out on a cassette tape, they were selling for like $150. And they
Wow.
were very hard to get. That was shortly after the release of the film. They came out as a limited edition on cassette tapes, and they were hard to find, quite expensive. But I didn't realize that even today for the CDs, they're up in the several hundreds. That's amazing.
Yeah, I got it when it came out, like when Unearthed did their release. And then I
Yeah.
think that when the DVD was the same. I was still in school at the time for the DVD. I was just finishing up.
Right.
But
Right.
but yeah. Well, I don't want to keep you, Clive, but before we play out, so to speak, is there anything that you'd want people to know or part with us with?
I'm still alive. I'm still creating. I'm still drawing. I'm still writing. I'm still doing things. What I would say to people is that this industry is going through some very, very, very difficult times right now, but it's going to change, and AI is obviously affecting everybody. It's affecting the business, and it's scaring people. It shouldn't scare you. I think it needs to be. It's going to take a while before AI has integrated into the creative community, and there's a place for it, but there's always a place for drawing and filmmaking and creating from scratch, and that won't ever change. So I'm kind of looking. I'm a little bit, I'm a bit hesitant, but I'm very interested to see where all this is going, and I think it's going to be good. So hang in, everybody.
I agree with you, because they said that radio was going to put orchestras out of business. We still have orchestras. They said that TV was going to put radio out of business. We still have radio. They said 3D was going to, kill 2D animation. It definitely had an effect for a while, but 2D animation is still here. And they said that streaming was going to kill TV, but I just see streaming as another variant of TV. And to be perfectly honest with you, if history is any indication, AI is probably going to be the same deal.
Yeah.
My personal opinion anyway. Sorry, there's a slight delay in my mic, so I sound like I've had a few drinks. Maybe later tonight. Well, Clive, thank you so much. If you can just bear with me, I'm just going to do the little outro, and then I'll kill it, and then I'll talk to you real quick after the show, because I know you've got to go, and I should probably jump too. So, Clive Smith, everybody. Anyway, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Clive, for joining us. So, the usual post-show pimpage. Don't have my stream deck going.
Well, thank you, Corey. It's been fun.
Yes, thank you so much, Clive. Clive, I'll be right back with you in a minute. As usual, skycron.com/go.